What is remarkable is that even in cities and various areas where there has been either a military crackdown or significant use of force, according to activists, people are still taking to the streets. In Homs, for example, where activists reported that on Wednesday and Thursday, more than 24 people were killed when they were demonstrating, on Friday, we still saw the masses taking to the streets, literally standing up, knowing that they could be killed if they chose to speak out against this regime. And also in Hama and Deir ez-Zor, two cities that have borne the brunt of a vicious military crackdown. Eyewitnesses in both those cities telling us that after they left the mosque, pre-positioned Syrian security forces opened fire on them. And even though they were forced to disperse, they said they tried to regroup time and time again. Meanwhile, there have been military offensives on numerous fronts, continuing in Deir ez-Zor, also to the east. Hama, although the tanks have withdrawn, still a city that sees numerous military and security forces checkpoints, snipers positioned on the roofs, and also a military buildup along the northwest in Idlib province, right along the border with Turkey. All of this coming as the U.S. is trying to put even more pressure on the Syrian regime, now calling for those countries that have energy interests in Syria's oil sector, as well as those that are dealing arms to the Syrian regime, to take a stance. Now, if this in fact does take place, which would require the cooperation of countries like China, India, Russia, Turkey, as well as a number of European countries, that could possibly sever a significant financial pipeline to the Syrian regime. The hope is that if that were to take place, Syria's coffers would be drained, meaning that the regime would be incapable of paying out its military, meaning that it would perhaps put even more pressure on the Syrian business community that up until now, at least publicly, has been relatively silent. The Syrian government has to a certain degree been able to feel a level of comfort in its position because it realizes that military action is not an option on the table. Economic action and severe economic action could potentially, if not force it off its current path, at least increase the internal voices that are rising up against it and potentially bring about some sort of an end to the bloodshed. Otherwise, it most certainly seems as if this vicious cycle of violence will only continue. Arwa Damon, CNN, Beirut.
Hey, listen!